We spent like 4 hours planning this first time.
Welcome back, guys. Today we have an awesome podcast in store for you. We're going to talk about Daniel's story. Let's talk about Dan. Dan?
My favorite subject.
Mine too.
Yeah.
All right, Dan, take us away.
Yeah, so hey guys, again, if you haven't known us, I'm Dan, aka Dan the Man, owner of DTM Films in Rexburg, Idaho. I shoot a lot of different things. I shoot weddings, commercials, real estate, events, a lot of stuff. But today we're going to talk a bit about me and my story, and I think the reason why I'm really excited is because while Tennyson and I have a lot of similarities, I also feel like I have a very different path than he did. And a key part of my story is failure, a lot of failures that have gotten me to where I am, and I feel like it's really relatable. So let's first start off a little bit about how I even got started into this. There are two things that got me into video, okay? And this is where let me give the first shout out to Tennyson. Tennyson's the first reason. Yeah.
You would have got started without me, but
No, but Tennyson let me shadow him with the first few weddings and got me into weddings, which gave me the money upfront I needed. Not a ton, but enough to quit my 9-to-5 and to turn into part-time and full-time with my video business and do contractor work and stuff too. The other reason I got started, a lot of people ask me, like, well, what got you into video? Funny enough, I'm actually an English major from BYU, Idaho, because a lot of people think I did communications. I was like, no, I did English major. And what got me into video was I was about to graduate. It's right around the peak of COVID. And I had been taking some film writing classes because I was like, I'm going to write movies for Hollywood and clean it up and da-da-da-da, right? And I actually happened to have two friends, one down in Utah and one down in New Zealand, found out they were making their own live action Avatar The Last Airbender fan films. And I was like, yes, this is exactly what I've been wanting to do. So I reached out to them and they let me internship with them. I didn't get to go down and shoot on set, but I edited for them remotely. And that's where I was kind of like, I like video. I want to do this. So those were the two that kind of got me into video here. But Tennyson was definitely the more launch pad on that. So I was working part-time doing my business and also working at Costa Vida. And I definitely recommend that because there are times when you go full-time where it gets really scary when your revenue goes up and down depending on the seasons and other things like winter, like there's just nothing, right? So I was working part-time at Costa Vida and then part-time as a contractor for two different businesses, one that was a wedding business and one that was a real estate business. So those are kind of my forte. I got into wedding and real estate real quick and got a lot of experience underneath those. But I sucked.
we all sucked.
Yeah, but I was a beginner. So
Yeah.
I was still getting experience with those and I was doing okay. I was getting better by better, but I was like, I need something to jump my level because I'm kind of getting sick and tired of doing contractor work. It's great start, but it's low pay, lots of hours, and it burns out pretty quick. So this is where I was looking for a course to teach me. Yeah, Tennyson knows where I'm going with this. He's like, another plug?
Well, no, we both owe where we are to various courses and some together.
Yeah,
So.
well, and key there being various courses, which I'll talk about later with me too. But I, right around Black Friday, found out that there was a 50% off of the #1 film school replacement course in the world called Full-Time Filmmaker. And problem was back then, $500 was really hard for me. I had like $600 in the bank. And I was like, ugh, this is such a leap. This is where it gets really cool. And this is the early days of Full-Time Filmmaker. You're going to hear me call it FTF as well for short. Just
FTF.
FTF to put out there.
We're FTFers.
I should just make a shirt for that and have them like context for copyright. So I got the course. I found the course called Full-Time Filmmaker. It's the #1 film school placement course in the world, created by Parker Walbeck and now owned and run by Land By the Way. And if you guys haven't seen her plug on from that a few episodes back, you should totally get the course.
Yeah, Dan and I are where we are today, large part because of full-time filmmaker, FTF for short.
And it's a phenomenal course. It's not just weddings. It's not just real estate. It's how to do YouTube channels, how to do business, how to use your phone.
It really is. And it's a really spectacular course, really just perfect.
Yeah. And they have a $27 starter course now. So it's like no excuse. Anyways, so I got that course and I just devoured it. I was just going through even though I was only doing like weddings and real estate at the time, I was watching how to do their YouTube. I was watching how to use GoPro. I was watching how to do lighting. I was watching how to use your phone. I was watching how to do their travel videos. I was just soaking up that. I was like, I'm going to do everything. And then I would just put all my heart and soul into the contractor work I was doing and what I was learning from FTF into contractor work. And this isn't me. This is what I heard from people around me at the time saying my work was just excelling, just really fast. And so I got to a point where I kind of took what I'd call it the first leap, where I was kind of like, and you're going to have this. There's always going to be in business times where you have to have some risk. You have to have calculated risk. You don't want to just do stupid risks. But there are going to be things that scare you and things where you're like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. And you can stay complacent and stay where you are and stay comfortable, and that's okay. But you're always going to stay at that amount of pay you're making and that amount of experience. If you want to grow, there are times where you have to just take the leap of faith. And so I took the leap of faith and I quit my 9-to-5 job. And I tried to go full-time I went full-time with this business. And it was really scary because for the first 5 to 6 months, I was getting nothing, despite my portfolio, which looking back now, even then, was bad. It was good at the time.
It's all bad in the beginning, though.
Yeah.
Well, everyone looks back and they're like, oh, man, I didn't do so well at that.
Right. Well, your first, we said in our previous videos, your first 100 videos are going to suck. But at the time, it was my best work. And it was pretty good at the time for some of those around me. But I took that leap, and then I just kind of went full ham on it, just working on trying to grow my business, trying to grow the socials. And then I started to get a first couple of one-off project clients, and that worked pretty well too. But my business didn't really take off, and I'm going to give them a shout out here, until I got my first retainer client, and that was from Schofield Welding, Jacob Schofield. I owe partly my businesses and being where I am today to you and a few other people, but also to Jacob. They posted on Facebook that they were looking for a videographer for his welding business too, construction welding, right? And this is what I was talking about, where leap of faith and scary. I was like, I do weddings and real estate. I don't really do construction. I don't really do like, ugh.
Yep, leap of faith. How'd it work out for you though?
But it worked out really well because he brought me on, and I within an hour of them making that post, I wrote them. I was like, here's my number, here's my email. I didn't just say, will you hire me? Or like, I want to take it. I said, I'd like to see if I'd be a good fit to work with you, right? I'd like to talk to find out more about what you want and what do you expect from me. And within like an hour or less, they hopped on the phone and called me.
Nice.
Thank you. And we talked and everything, and they were just like, yep, that's it. You're it. And I was like, you don't want to look at a few other people? And he's like, well, you were the first one. I was like, yeah, don't you want to look at two? And he's like, no, you were professional. You were quick. You definitely have a good portfolio. We're going to take you. I was like, sweet, first try.
Dude, that doesn't happen very often, guys.
That doesn't, but I got really lucky. And so
yeah.
I worked for a whole year with him after that. He took me to Jackson to shoot construction in the winter. He took me to Boise to do construction. We shot tons of podcasts and YouTube videos for his YouTube channel. And I got him up to 75,000 subs. But over a year, he had me shoot content for him and start to run his YouTube channel for him too. But it wasn't until like the end of that whole year of working with him where he finally was just like, this is great, this is good. For certain reasons, none of them bad. We left on good terms. He was just like, we're going to wrap up at this point. I was like, that's great, cool, do your thing. But that recurring job gave me the finances and the experience and the portfolio and just sort of a confidence to sort of be like, okay, I am ready to go to the next level, and really I really am full time on this now. Like, I'm not just some noob, I'm not just someone who thinks I kind of know what I'm doing. Like, people are investing in me. I'm getting really cool experiences. Like, I'm not just a beginner. I'm not just your average college student.
So that was your first like retainer contract, right?
Yes.
How did that feel to have like a continual income compared to just a spotty here and there contract?
Oh my gosh, it was like a weight that was lifted off my shoulders. Partly because now I know that I have income coming in. It's really hard as a freelancer starting out when you're just taking job after job after job, but it's just paycheck after paycheck after paycheck, and you're like, if that paycheck runs out, you run out of food, you run out of gas. With having the recurring client, I was like, okay, I now know at least I have some money coming in. I can put some to saving, I can put some to investments and stuff and gear, and then I have some that's actually for like spending if I wanted to. It gave me the freedom and the flexibility to do it, kind of not be stressing all the time.
Yeah.
And that was important to take that stress off my shoulders, because it did show me that like you can do this, and there are people willing, even in this area. I know there's a lot in our area of Southeast Idaho for the listeners, right? I know there's probably a lot of students and a lot of people that are like, you just can't get work here. And I'm like, you can. There are people willing to invest pretty good money in you in this area, but you have to hit a certain level of quality and experience and stuff first. The other thing it made me feel was stress. I know you're just like, well, it made you feel less stress. It made me feel less stress of having a consistent income, but it also gave me more stress because I didn't know what I didn't know back then. And I wish I had have had someone I could shadow commercially around here like I did with you in weddings, because I realized all of a sudden, oh crap, I need systems, I need processes, I need contracts, I need foundation, I need quantification, like all the stuff we've been telling you in these previous episodes, and I didn't have that. So I'm scrambling to try and form that during the job, basically, during the storm. Right? I'm trying to fill the hole in my boat while it's pouring rain in my boat. And I've fixed a lot of those gaps at this point. I have a lot of them fixed. There's still a few I'm trying to tidy up that's affecting my business, but it was a great weight off my shoulders to have a reoccurring and a confidence booster to have someone say, we like your stuff so much, we want you to come back and over and over and over again.
So moving forward, what did you take from that? Because once that experience wrapped up, what was your game plan after that? What happened?
That's a good question. So at that point, I kind of, again, was a little scrambled for the first month or two. I was kind of like, well, now what? I don't have a recurring client. Savings are dwindling. What do I do? And that's when I put focus back onto my foundations. I realized I need to use this time to actually fix some gaps. But at the same time, I realized I need to go get more recurring clients. So this is where I branched out from just doing weddings and real estate. And I've now done construction. And I said, okay, now I'm going to pivot to commercials. Now, let me just take a quick side quest here. In FTF, Full-Time Filmmaker, Parker has a lesson where he talks about the benefits and the negative effects between diversification and specialization. And at the time, diversification worked for me because I was jumping from this to that, partly because it was winter and real estate and weddings don't happen during winter. So I needed something. But at the same time, I call it the shotgun approach. When you're taking on 4 or 5 genres like I had been, and I'm still kind of doing, I'm dialing it back now. It's really hard because each client in each genre has different needs, different requirements, different turnaround times.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to juggle all of them at the same time.
And just to make a note here for you guys, for our listeners, that's something that every creative starts out doing. They start out with the shotgun approach, and it's a good thing because you can figure out what you like doing, what you don't like doing. But I will say that's a big negative side to the shotgun approach is if you don't niche down kind of quickly, you're going to go nowhere fast. You'll get somewhere. But like for me, like I'm a sniper bullet in my industry, but I'm very close-minded to every like other ways of like other different industries inside my industry.
Right. And you have amazing traction. Like you're getting
Yeah.
referrals and planners and weddings.
Even though I've been in business for longer than Dan can usually outcompete me in the commercial world pretty fast and pretty easily because he's spent much more time there than I have there. So
yeah. However, like you said, the downside is I've lost a lot of traction in all my genres because I've tried to juggle everything while trying to fix my foundations, while trying to do this. And so right now, for the last 6 months, my business has sort of been in a period of flux where I have some income and lots of jobs, and then I lose some and I have to sit for a month or two with no income and savings drop. And then I get some and things go up and then it goes down. It's back to that feast and famine mode, which I thought I'd gotten rid of. So again, this is why we talk about foundations and all this stuff, lay it down first. But then you have, like you said, specialization. And this is where Tennyson excels because you do basically just weddings.
And to be fair, I did shotgun for the first couple of years of my business. That's just kind of where I landed.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do weddings. But that comes with experience too.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and this is where like I wouldn't trade that for the money for me shotgunning as well, because now I've sort of seen kind of what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I do have a better understanding of when people say, oh, I don't want to do weddings, but what about commercials? Or what if I did interviews? Like, what would be a fair price to charge? I can say, okay, I have a little more experience in this. I can give you some of that feedback. But this is where Parker says in this video, you probably only need 1 or 2, maybe 3 genres max. You need your main, which for you is weddings. For me, probably weddings at this point. It used to be real estate, now it's weddings. You have your secondary, which I do is real estate, and then maybe a third, which I'm still kind of figuring out what that is. But anyways, so you guys, you need to figure out which approach you want to take. Like Tennyson said, I would recommend maybe shotgunning for your first 6 months, tops. Figure out what you want to do. You should be going out, putting in 10,000 hours, lots of free work, discounted work. Figure out the genres you want. After 6 months, you're not going to know exactly which. Well, some of them you might say, well, 3 or 4 of these still look pretty good. That's okay. Just cut them off and say, I'm going to go to these 2. If it doesn't work in the next 6 months, you can always flip back to the other 2. But the specialization, I think, in the Southeast Idaho area, I'm starting to learn is kind of the way to survive. If you shotgun too much, unless you're Parker or Landon or someone at that level of quality, you're not really going to get a lot of work. You're not going to get a lot of traction.
Yeah, and that's going to depend a lot on what it is you do, but definitely I think that's a general rule, not just here. Any industry you're in, you need to learn how to both diversify and niche properly. It's really just being really good at something, but able to do other things too.
Yeah.
And Daniel's done pretty well at that, actually. He's turned his shotgun into more of like a
twisted barrel.
It's gone from birdshot to buckshot. I don't know. It's a terrible analogy. Yeah, Daniel's getting good at that though. So tell us, you learned this new mindset. You started niching down. What happened after that?
So that's actually brings us about to the present, about where I'm at right now. So at this point, you adopted me probably about a year ago. Not like as
Dan's my son.
Thanks, Dad. No, but what I mean by that is, like you said, for like a whole year, you didn't really use me for weddings until I got good. And then you got to a point where you then reached back out to me and was like, I think you're pretty good at this point. Let's give you, and come to this wedding with me. Let's see.
That's not now. That's like 2 years ago.
Well, it was about 2 years ago. But I mean, within the story, a lot of people are going to say that. They're going to say, well, it's 2 years ago. I'm like, guys, this industry does not normally work in days and weeks. We work in months and couple months and years.
Yeah. Okay. So I brought you out to this wedding. I remember this was Aaron and Grayson.
Yep.
What was your experience? Because I remember my experience. What was your experience at that wedding?
Dude, my mom was blown. So here I was thinking this is going to be another one of like the Blackfoot one, the first one I shot with you, barn or whatever. Okay, I knew it was a little bit more. You gave me a little bit of some of the numbers, but I was still kind of like, what? It wasn't until I walked up. And the other thing was, this was like a tent in the middle of nowhere out in Teton too. It was like a dirt field, basically. It wasn't dirt, but like wheat field that had just space, right? And I was like, okay, it's kind of weird. I walk up, and the moment I saw that they had like waiters in gloves and tuxes and champagne glasses and everything, people walking up with like diamond necklaces. I was like, what'd you get me into? Like, we just walked into a movie set.
Yeah.
And that's when I kind of hit me and realized, okay, two things. I was like, one, Tennyson does really good weddings. I want to keep working with him.
Yeah.
Don't blow it. And two, it also showed me, kind of like you were saying in your episode, oh my gosh, I can shoot these kind of weddings. I can hit this kind of price tag. Like I'm almost at this level.
To give some perspective here, the first wedding Dan shot with me, who was a total noob, actually touched his sensor of his camera. He was super noob. He's learned a lot since then. Yeah. That was a $1,500 wedding that they paid me. This wedding that Daniel's talking about, this was like close to $5,000. This was almost a $5,000 wedding for me. Yeah. So there's a difference there, right? There's a difference. You're talking between like budget and like lower level premium.
But that's also just the pay to you, right?
Yeah.
You bring it back in. We were talking about the different people they have to get. I'm not going to say numbers either, and I don't think we should for this wedding, but it was still at a price range where I was like, they spent how much on this? Like, whoa. Whoa. And they picked us.
Yeah.
And so I felt kind of honored that they picked us, and also that you were like, you know what? I think you're good enough. Let's give you a shot. Yeah. My mindset, though, was like, don't blow it, but this is what I can get to.
Yeah.
And then I did have a little bit of an ego. I'm just kidding. I had a lot of an ego. But I remember also thinking like, okay, if he thinks I'm good enough to bring me to these kind of weddings for him, I was like, okay, I'm going to work really hard in the next 6 months. I'm going to outdo him. I'm going to be the Tennyson of the area. I'm going to beat him.
You still can. So that's not your mindset now, though. What kind of shifted after that wedding? What did you do what did you do?
Well, so at that time, I did get one or two recurring clients in Rexburg.
Yeah.
And so I did kind of go back a little bit to the commercials, and trying to be create constant monthly content for businesses. But I did up my pricing a little bit. But I upped my value and my experience. I added stuff to my packages and things, and worked on trying to get my own weddings up to that price point. I will say I did just book my first $5,000 wedding in Boise a few months back, but that's my first one. I'm not quite at that price point, right? It's not like my average, but I am at that point where I'm coming up pretty close to that price range. So I've been focusing more on. I still kind of use the commercials because I need the diversity. I need the recurring clients, but I also realized that once you get to a certain level of weddings in this area, the Southeast Idaho region, even if it's not like the Jackson weddings, just a certain level, you can actually get to a pretty good pay. You just have to get to a certain level of quality. But there are $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 weddings out there. I had one that took me out to Island Park, and I was like, this is cool. So I've been starting to put my focus back on my weddings, kind of like you said, kind of naturally, kind of realizing this is kind of what I'm good at. I wanted to do real estate. Yes, I wanted to do commercials, but I'm really good at weddings for my area, I guess you could say, or my level of experience and time of experience. So, but I still have in my vision, in my dream, my plan, to be able to kind of do all of those, because I have had some pretty cool opportunities. I did get to shoot 2 $3.5 million real estate luxury mansions up in Ashton a few months back. I have gotten to do some other big events and stuff on my portfolio. So I'm not giving up on those other areas, but like you said, I'm kind of specializing at this point, saying this is where the money's at, this is where my skill's at, this is where I'm good at, and I'm going to get really good at this until can get to a point where it sustains me to the level I want.
Yeah.
And once it sustains me, then I will start going back and working on these other areas. That was the mistake or failure I made, was trying to do all of it at once and not really getting, jack of all trades instead of actually getting good at something.
And this is the key, guys, is being able to make the decision based on analytical things in your business, right?
Yeah.
He's looking at the numbers. He's saying, okay, this is making me X product and this is making me X product. And he's saying, well, it makes sense to pursue the thing that's making me the most money right now. And it's weird to say this, but a lot of businesses don't do that. a lot of people, one-man businesses, you make emotional decisions. You have to learn to make business decisions, which often are different, especially creatives. We're emotionally driven even more. And so that key difference of being able to make the decision based on what numbers are happening in your business is going to make a big difference, the biggest difference of anything else.
And I want to do some of the other stuff still, like I said.
Yeah.
And eventually I'll get to it. But I've realized the long game, which is, like you said, you can't be emotional. You have to get your business sustainable.
Yeah.
It has to be stable and have its legs first. And that was my problem was I'd get let's just use a chair as an example. I would have one or two legs going pretty good, but then I'd be wobbling side to side. So then I'd fix and put this leg in, but that leg would be missing. I've been trying to get it to have all the four legs. Yeah. And I should have done that before I really started taking on too many big clients.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been my experience is, and then part of that is also, it's not just about diversification, specialization. Like you said, it's a lot of the stuff we've talked about before. Pleasure to work with, this and that. I have lost out on some big potential opportunities because I let ego get in the way or I reacted emotionally and publicly. And, I burned a bridge with I won't say which one, but I've worked with 4 or 5 cities now. It was a city within the area that I burned a bridge with because I reacted emotionally and didn't provide proof and other things. I have 1 or 2 chambers that I've made a couple mistakes with that they may be okay and I may be paranoid and may actually not be as bad as I think it is, or it may be as bad as I think it is and I probably burned them too. So I've learned a lot from failure. Failure has been a big point of my experience. And I've taken, I don't think you guys understand just how big of an ego I've had for the last 2 years. Tennyson knows because of our car rides. Please tell him how big of an ego I used to have.
Dan does not have that big of an ego. I'll fight you on this.
Okay.
But no, Dan had a little bit of an ego, and I wouldn't say it was a problem. I have known people who have way bigger egos, and their stuff's great, but I still won't work with them, and I know they're still struggling to find work, and they're like, why can't I find work? It's because your ego, dude. Dan had a bit of an ego there and a little bit, but Dan actually put in the work to back that up. So I'm not going to knock him terribly for it. He had a little bit of one. We all had one still.
But I also got humbled from those experiences, from burning cities and other things.
Oh, for sure.
I kind of realized I could have, come back and just been like, well, you guys don't understand, or you don't know me, or my network.
Don't you know who I am?
Yeah, or my network friends of millionaires that I have. And we do have some pretty cool networking, but I got humbled real quick. And then I realized that in talking to, I call them the higher up friends, but in talking to them as well as you and some others, I realized that you get more work from being a pleasure to work with than you do about bragging about your portfolio.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, people don't, it's this classic saying again, like people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah. So my mindset has shifted from, well, I'm so good and Tennyson brought me back and I've done this and I did really cool weddings and I've done, this event and that, to kind of just saying like, instead of telling, I'm going to shut up and put up. I'm going to show. I'm going to get so good that that city that I burned or those connections that I burned or people that are on the fence working with me because of back then mistakes are going to say, he was sort of a pleasure to work with, but not amazing, but he's so good. I just got to have him. Like, that's my goal, my mindset now. It's like, I'm going to make it so you have to use me. You want to use me because I'm that good. So
now you're in your early 2024 at this point. What are you thinking? What are you planning? What are you doing to change?
So this is where things get a little different. Things get kind of cool. I laugh because this is like a whole nother level for me, and I'm a little nervous about this. But I'm at the point where like I said, I'm still diversifying, but I'm also doing weddings. But I can't keep juggling back and forth too well with these. So at one point, I looked at my figures of inspiration. For me, it's Parker Wahlbeck, Devin Supertramp, Robin J. Espidia, Jake Weiser, Nate Dehan, Alex Ma, those kind of guys. Chris Newman, also a good friend. But in looking at them and the stuff they did, I realized I need to have a team. And as well as my vision and my goal has always been from the way back to like, what was it, 2022, 2023 when I started with you? My goal, my vision was always to become, the next Parker Walbeck Devon Supertramp. Not so much of like, I want to be a copy or live their life, but I was like, dang it, I want to have experiences like they did. I want to get hired to go shoot real estate in Hobbiton in New Zealand. I want to do this. I want to work with Ubisoft. And I used to think for a long time, like, oh, but it's such a big dream. It's just a dream. It's just that. It's not even a vision. It's not even a plan. It's a dream. And then I had the opportunity to, I don't normally give out numbers, but I will in this case. I spent $2,000 to go spend 4-5 days, depending on how you count it, with a couple of guys to go do one-on-one drone training with Chris Newman down in Moab, southern Utah, in the desert. Okay. And for those of you who don't know, and I don't want to, this is not to be brag or anything. This is just to give context, right? Chris flew for Devon Supertramp. He also flew for the Piano Guys, and he flies for Netflix and IMAX movies. Like, he's the drone guy, right? The godfather of drones on the internet. But he also worked with them and them. So we are on the last night in the middle of the Moab desert. And I mean, we're like 100 miles from civilization. Like, coyotes are out around us. Yeah. We're just doing our thing. The guys there they knew he was the drone guy and all that, but I don't think they knew about his side of the story with Devon and all those experiences. I did. And I was fanboying so hard. But he and I sat down on our backs. We're at like 2 a.m. out in the desert looking up at the stars and stuff. And we're just talking. And this is, we're going to get to answering your question and giving context here on what my plan is for 2024. Yeah. The gist of that conversation I got from him was, he was like, yeah, well, when we did it, it was the unknown too. Like, we weren't sure. We were just doing it for fun. We were doing it for creative outlet, for passion. And he said, and the takeaway I got from our conversation was, he was like, well, if we did it, why can't you? What's holding you back? Just because we did it doesn't mean you can't. Sure, we were the first. Doesn't mean you can't be the second. And so with that mindset, I realized I want to do the exact same thing. So my mindset now for 2024 is I'm going to build a team. I have an A team and a B team I want to create. I want to have the A team are those who are kind of my part-time, full-time employees. They're really good at what they do. They have 1, maybe 2 specializations that they have. And so they're going to go with me on those, trips to New Zealand or France or wherever we go when we get to that point. And then there'll always be 1 or 2 of the A team to hang back and watch the B team. And the B team will be local creators and BYU-Idaho students and anyone else who wants to, that'll help with my local clients, right? And
I'm definitely on the B team.
Maybe the C team.
Maybe the C team. Yeah. I'm the grip.
You're the backup.
The backup of the backup. Yeah. Sorry, continue.
No, it's okay. But yeah, so at that point, there, and B team isn't just like there forever. Like, if you get really good, I can bring you up to A team. But I want to have, like, BYU's known, their graduates, right, are known for becoming animators for Disney and Pixar and all this other stuff. And I thought, why can't BYU-I be known as the content creators of the world? And so I want to create that team and that system where I'm like, they're going to come and work with me and under my business experience and internship. Internship may be paid, it may not be paid, but we're going to train up all the creators and stuff and then get them connected to our higher up friends that are the global industry leaders and other stuff and bring those bridges together and just make this area a hodgepodge of great content creators and show people like it's possible to still do content creation and video in this world today. I think you hear a lot of people have said in the last year, right, that YouTube's dying or this is dying or this is that. And I realize there's probably 1 or 2 truths to that, but most of that's crap. It's really just you don't want to put into 10,000 hours. You want to use the AI as a shortcut. You want to do this. You want to do that. We're going to not do shortcuts, and we're going to be, like I said, so good of a team that people are like, we got to have him. We got to have DTM Films. We got to have Dan. He's the man.
Yeah. So you have this team now. At this point, was this around the time you got the BYU-Idaho internships happening, or?
I created the internships about a year ago. I went and did the paperwork, talked with them. So I've been running them for about a semester.
So what's it like? Because at this point, you've been in business for a few years now. By that point, right?
Right.
what was it like working with college students? Because they have a different mindset. We've talked about this. Freelancers and like people who learn from experience versus education are in totally different worlds.
Yes.
So what was it like helping people who are from a different world than you are?
First, let me just preface this. I love the students. I love creators. I love connecting to everyone. But there are times where I sit back and think, man, if I thought I had an ego, because you and I both know that I have had a big ego before, and I was like, dang, these kids. I was like, this is what I was like.
I didn't think you were ever that bad. So
I know,
it's students.
But the thing is, and I love this. You know, we talked about this in another episode that's should have already come out by now, where we talk about the safety net and the bubble, and professors, you know, education versus experience. And the problem is you have sort of a mix here, but there's really no vision or direction for where to take the students. It's just sort of teaching them, like, here's what you can do, like, here it is.
Yeah.
And then you're on your own. I've talked with tons of students, both from all the way from students of the BYU-I program from 10 years ago up until about 2-3 years ago, and even just a few right now in the program. And they all say the same thing. Like, they teach you the camera settings. They teach you the 180 rule and all this stuff. They don't teach you how to make a business. They don't how to teach you how to run as a freelancer. They just teach you how to go be the coffee runner in the next production house, or the backup cameraman in a production house. Yeah. I'm like, we're in the age of influencers and freelancers, right? Mr. Beast, all these other guys. Heck, the last election cycle, the presidential runners were on TikTok and other social medias. Were working,
Truth Social.
Yeah, working with influencers, both Trump and Kamala. So I try to help the creators and businesses understand, like, you want an influencer and you want someone who knows what they're doing. And so I have had to, I made some mistakes early on and had a couple of students, you know, take like $400 or $500 from round and other stuff. But I've tried to now sift through the students. This is why my internship is right now not paid. It probably eventually will become paid, because I had it paid at the beginning and had some half-baked projects and then run with my money. This is also when I pay, I don't pay before the project anymore to students. I wait till they finish the project and then pay them if I pay. But I've realized students have a lot of mindsets baked into them that are wrong and need to be shifted. They need to understand that if you mess up in the real world, you don't get to redo the assignment for the grade. You lose the client right away. And you hurt my business.
And college attempts to like bridge that gap, but in my opinion, they don't do it very well.
Right.
Especially BYU-Idaho. I love BYU-Idaho.
Both do.
But you screw something up, there's usually a way for you to make it back. In the real world, like you do that to a client, guess what? You don't have that client anymore.
Right. And so the interns I have now are a lot less, but they have some serious heart and soul and passion. One of them has already done 2 or 3 weddings on her own. And for her first few weddings, they're not bad. One of those interns with me, he's been around with me for a whole year. Last year, he did the Renaissance Fair with me for Thornshire. We're probably going to do it again this year. And this year will be a lot more days, but he didn't know he was even going to get paid. He was thinking of doing this for free. We did 2 10-hour days back to back for that event. And he was just happy to be there. I paid him $200 for it because I was like, back to back 10-hour days,
at that
man.
point, you're like, I got 2 hours of your life or 2 days of your life.
That's really hard. Yeah. And there's also 10 hours back to back. But so that's what I've been doing now is I've been trying to find students and say, look, if you're here for the money, bye. There are times where I'll pay you. There are times where I'll make it worthwhile. I know you need money. Yeah. But you need to understand that money will not come until you're good. And good will not come until you actually have passion for this and actually desire, right? I'm looking for the next Devons, so to speak. And so if you're going to work for me and you're going to come shadow under me, you're going to do it because you want the experience. You want to get awesome portfolio stuff you won't before. Like my intern, she was thrilled to find out. She, again, didn't know, and I didn't know either, really. We went and did this little teeny conference for a local business that they called us up like last minute. It was like, it's just like a 2-hour conference. We just need someone to record it. And then the guy, the owner, the next day, he actually flew up with his own helicopter, and he was like, we're going to take the kids out for a helicopter ride. And so she got to go do a helicopter ride.
That's cool.
Yeah. And so I'm like, you guys are going to get experiences. You're going to get portfolio work and cool stuff working with me. But I want to make sure that your mind and heart is in this for creativity and passion and goal, not just because you want a paycheck.
Yeah.
So your experience, you don't have to necessarily have a ton of experience, but you have to be willing to put in the time and get the experience. And as much as I love the professors, you also need to understand that your professors are there now as professors, and they're teaching you what worked for them 20, 30 years ago. It's not how the things work now.
And let's be clear on this, because a lot of the listeners are going to be college students, or at least high school. The professors, they want to do the right thing, right? And I think they are. You know, they there's something to be said for the years of experience they've spent in their field, but especially in the video world specifically and photography, life moves fast. What worked 5 years ago doesn't work anymore. And so what Dan is saying is that the professors they're teaching you. That's their job. Their job is to teach you. They're not out there doing what we're doing anymore because they're teaching you. So it's your responsibility to go out and find out, bridge that gap. They'll teach you the fundamentals. It's your job to go out there and bridge the gap between what they're teaching you and what's happening now.
And that's why I have my internship.
Yeah, and that's a good connection to make too.
Exactly. And so again, that's why it's unpaid at first, because I'm like, I want to see you're in it for the right reasons. But when you're in it for the right reasons, I will reward you, and you will get that experience. You'll bridge that gap, and you'll be ready to work either as a freelancer or in a production house, because you all know both. You're not just trained for one.
So Dan,
yes,
you started this internship. Things are going well. You got students. You've been burned a few times, but overall, you're starting to experience what it's like to have that team. So where does that bring us now? That brings us right up to about now. How's life for you right now?
Life's pretty good. There are ups and downs. I'm in a little bit of a valley right now because I'm finishing out some foundational issues, but they're almost resolved, and I'm expecting some serious growth to come up in the next few months. But I have an awesome team that I work with now, 2, 3, 4 students from BYU-I, Idaho. They're actually getting course, even though it's unpaid, they get course credit. So they're getting class credit for the internship.
Nice.
On top of the experience, the portfolio work, the mentorship. So they're getting a lot out of this internship. I'm actually going to be meeting tomorrow from the day that this episode comes out. The day that we recorded this, I'm going to be meeting with the head of the BYU-I Career Center. And we're going to talk about how to level up and take the internship to the next level. Because I have some students to hear about it, but not a whole bunch.
Yeah.
And he's going to try and help me get out in front of the school and actually get out to the kids and potentially talk with some of the professors maybe in the communications department. So I'm really excited because now I'm like, okay, now I'm hoping to get a larger number of the same sort of mindset students. And that will expedite the size of my group. And that means I can take on a lot more projects, a lot more stuff. We can pay more. I can actually start making a paid internship. It really allows me to just sort of boost my business.
And it's nice for the interns too, because there's not a lot of resources. At least where we're from, there's not a lot of resources for video students. We have the college here, but there's not a lot of real life experience that they can gain up here.
Right.
They're mostly stuck with the college. There's a couple of production houses, but they're not big. So, but yeah, I mean, another thing too is Dan is actually working. Well, I don't know if you want to talk about this. Dan is working on a course right now, a drone course, which again, not a lot being talked about up here.
Yeah, I'm working on a drone course. Eventually, I'll have a video course too. But I feel like there's a lot of video courses out there that people can already get.
Yeah.
But I've seen in this area starting to have a rise in drone work. And I've also seen a lot of students selling their drones online, despite the fact that I've gotten drone construction jobs that paid up to like $1,500 for the job. Like just fly my drone. Just
full fly, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, again, it's one of those things where if you start off with contractor jobs like I did for my drone, $50, $100, $200 a flight. But if you can get out of those quickly, you can actually get good with your drone and you can learn the business side. Because again, that's what we've talked about too, right? Whether it's business, weddings, whatever you're doing, drone, it's learning the creative. The creative side will carry itself, but you also need to learn how to business and sell that creative side. And when you can do that with drones, which I'm going to do in my drone course that I'll eventually have coming out for you guys, there are jobs again out there in this area that pay really well just to fly your drone.
Yeah.
So one of the things I want to just throw in one last bit here too is in terms of another resource. And this is just me. This is not like official yet, and probably I need to reach out and talk to him more about it. But one of the things I'm trying to do is I'm also trying to connect students that are up here to my and some of our higher end friends, shall we say, right? Where these are guys that work with like McDonald's and DJI and Sony as clients, and try to get the students connected to their courses and their resources. And I hope, this is just me, I hope someday to have one out of maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 of those friends provide the opportunity to say, the ones that are closer relatively, to say, let me find a way to have like a handful of students, like my best interns, come down and work with you for like a week on like a YouTube video or something. That's what I hope to get to. I don't know if it ever will, but so.
Yeah. Well, let's conclude here, guys. I just want to. I want to start off this by saying, I want to wrap up here by saying that the biggest thing that I've seen as an outsider from Dan, because I've seen a lot of creators in this area, especially, grow up and kind of learn their place in the world. Biggest thing is Dan came from a non-degree, like he has a degree, but it's in English. As a filmmaker, he came from no degree as a filmmaker to being the hardest working individual in Southeast Idaho. And he puts in hours and hours and hours and hours and hours that even people with a degree can't keep up with.
And I'm plus size.
Yeah. And so my point here is anything is achievable if you work at it. Okay. Daniel went from nothing to where he is now because he worked. And he had some skill. He has lots of skills at it. So he's got some natural talent. But if you want to get to kind of where Dan is, if you want to get to a point where you're getting the residual incomes, you have people who are working with you, you have a team that's helping you produce.
Strangers tagging other strangers about you.
Put in the work. Yeah. That's the quickest way to get that. Like, there's no fallback for good work.
I actually, just to bounce off that, I know we're trying to conclude here, but I actually, again, I don't know if it was Dan Martell or Alex Hormozy, but I just saw a quote about that the other day where they were just saying that the problem is everybody wants to grab the newest shortcut.
Yeah.
Which isn't bad. But the problem is after a few months, all of a sudden everybody's doing that shortcut. So it's not really a shortcut anymore. Yeah. The new shortcut is to go back to the long form way that nobody else wants to do.
There's no shortcut, guys.
So
success is a ladder and it is a long one.
Yeah.
And you got to climb.
But it's also a snowball. So if you put in the ladder, you do the climb, at some point it starts gaining its own momentum.
Yeah,
so
that's true too.
You guys can do it.
Awesome. Guys, we'll look forward to seeing you next episode. We're going to talk about some how to get into commercial work for next episode. But okay, guys.
See you guys.
See ya.